Hello and welcome to the second match of Tarnation versus TrolerKules. I'm definitely going to stop calling them TrolerKules because it's way too much of a mouthful. Tarnation versus Troller in this 8-bit Ladderwars invitational, or not invitational, qualifier, I guess. Anyway, Tarnation is down here playing once again in that menacing black, but this time as the Cranioids against Troller, who is up here in his normal, boringly coloured Guardians again. Chose a very good map in Venison Wilds, very large map. This is a large map, and so it makes sense that he would choose this to try and avoid some of this aggressive rushing from what I assume he thought would be Marines, but turned out to be another Invaders faction, which also has this very similar, incredibly powerful early game potential against Guardians, who probably have the weakest set of starting units by far in this game. I mean, this dude isn't gonna get anything done. But the Xenodogs were quite painful. And we can see Tarnation down here going for a very fast airplay, which makes sense. A lot of Cranioids do this sort of play on larger maps against Guardians on ladder. There's a lot of cliffs around here that you can get your aggressors over. And they will have the rocket cars, which are not awful at defending it. They're quite fast, and although they do have to follow the restraints of the map terrain, they will do a decent amount of damage. But if the rocket cars are running around your their base chasing aggressors, they can't be running around your base killing your harvesters. So I think it's a very reasonable start. We can assume we'll see our first aggressor coming out very soon. Here we go. And the habitat going down, on the other hand, as a sort of defensive measure to make sure he has at least some ground and that he can get a decent start out. He has to be very careful here that he doesn't end up blocking his harvesters at all. But this does put up quite a wall to stop any aggression coming up into the later part of his base once Troller is moving around with a larger army. And Troller is going into the air production, is probably going to use light drones to defend off this harassment early and then go into heavy drones later. I haven't seen a ton of Guardian versus Cranioids that go really into the late game. But most Guardians seem to believe in most matchups that just getting that big heavy drone army out is the way to go. The only matchup that I really see a number of good Guardian players countering that opinion is Marines, where just getting that big, heavy Spectre artillery army is strong enough. But it seems a reasonable play to be going for these heavy drones in most of these matchups. And the third refinery there going down. Oh, whoops, slight mismicro there. Or I guess he's just confident that these light drones are gonna clear this up. But there's another one. Light drones build pretty fast, so he'll have another set out. But these look like they are going to get something done because Troller did decide to rely on those light drones over anything else. And Tarnation is now starting to build up quite an army. Very traditional way to play Cranioids nowadays is to get these free production buildings down and then just to start teching. I wouldn't be surprised if after this motivator we were to see just another tech building come out. And now Troller is moving out of the map to try and do some damage. Some good setup with some Cranioid infantry around here, and they are a good unit to defend against rocket cars. Those rocket cars don't do any damage to them, and they do a good amount of damage to them. If Troller had realized earlier, he could have just dived in there and probably sniped this harvester without taking too much damage, but he noticed that the army was going to be there, the reaction was going to be quick enough from Tarnation, and didn't go into it. It also may not at this point be worth losing a large amount of rocket cars, simply because there are so many harvesters out on the field already for Tarnation, and so just picking out one isn't going to be worth a large amount of your forces. And his forces aren't looking super terrifying right now because he doesn't have those heavy drones out yet. He's mainly on tier 1. Now these anti-air drones could get some really good connections here, but a couple of them are going to just hit one there and good split off there by Tarnation to force the other two to also just hit one. But that's still, honestly, a decent trade, having 2 light drones each for an aggressor. So Troller can't be too unhappy with that, and he's still pumping out those light drones. He now has 2 air facilities, whatever they're called, and so he's going to have a really good number. A couple of them flying in there. Oh, that was a really good hit, that one. That one managed to finish off a couple there. And now TrolerKules' army with these good light drones here is looking strong. He's also got some Spectres in there now, which do that heavy damage that are going to be very fearsome in this fight. And oh, got a bit of replay lag here. Well, these tripods are not going to be that scary, as I believe they only do normal damage. Carnage is just holding down to kill this harvester. Come on, 8-bit. Come on, 8-bit. You can do it. You can run this replay. A lot of these aggressors have ended up going down now to this. Are there going to be blast bugs coming out anytime soon? He has not gone for high enough tech to do blast bugs. He's deciding to just spam out these tripods, which is an interesting move. And there is the first heavy drone out. Spectre, Sniper, heavy drone composition is now fully ready to come out. 8-bit stuttering, 8-bit struggling. Come on, 8-bit. You can do this. You can. I believe in you, 8-bit. Okay, so I believe this was about where my 8-bit replays decided to crash my computer. Hopefully, the replay system is gonna be more friendly this time, and nothing is bugged or broken at all. So Tarnation is now pushing up into Troller's base with this little army here. Still an interesting choice that he's decided to go for continuing making these tripods rather than moving up in the tech. I believe if we look back at his base, which I have had a little check-in while I was getting back to this point, he is not going for the higher tech. He's just building more and more factories to try and get this big army of tripods out. And as they are all dying here, he is pushing up in the center with more of them. He's going to try and see if this attack can do enough to cripple Troller or Carnage. I'm going to be using those names independently. And after taking out one harvester, he is very smartly sending over his aggressors to take out the second harvester, which could really seriously cripple his economy. Army-wise, with the reinforcements from Troller coming up from the south, it does not look like he's going to be able to push in and do any more damage. But it does like, yes, he's gonna power Troller, and unfortunately Troller started making another air pad at that exact point, and so it will be a while until he unpower locks himself. Oh, Cranioid dogs doing a lot of damage there to those Spectres. Fire damage, I believe. So I shouldn't do too much, I guess, but they were standing there for quite a while. But anyway, pushing up the front now. This could be... I mean, Tarnation just has too much production for this to be a kill blow by Carnage here, by Troller. He's really going to need to get himself back off the ground. He's going to need to fill up on harvesters again, which he's given it a go at doing. And he's going to need to keep his production up as much as possible in this time. And unfortunately, this replay system gives me no way to see his money, but I'm going to assume that his money is tremendously low right now. He has one harvester here at the back, 3 harvesters on here, and one harvester coming down to here, which is going to be lost again. He needs to send this harvester up there, and then he'll have 2 harvesters on there. He has just enough to fill 3. And economically, I think he's just probably taken too much damage, because Tarnation might have a very low-tech army, but look at all this production. He's just absolutely pumping it out. And coming around the side so we can hit this refinery again makes a lot of sense. And honestly, this looks like the end of it for Troller. He has a much more powerful army tech-wise, much more complex army, but it's just not going to be enough. And I'm now even more upset that my replay decided to crash seemingly so near to the end, so I'll have to stitch these 2 bits of video together. And I will see you in the third game of the 8-Bit Armies Ladder Wars Invitational, which will hopefully take less time to record.